Angelize is a spoiled princess who keeps getting pampered by her family. However, one day, she is exposed as a useless failure in front of the country for not being able to use monolight. Ultimately, she is kicked out from the palace and is sent to a facility on an unknown island where she raises a country boy to survive. The Floria Academy of the Kingdom of Rosenblum and the Empire of Misuriga's Institute are battling to win Iria Championship. Angelize leads her team and passes the ball to her teammate. Unfortunately, one of her teammates accidentally falls from her vehicle, ultimately making the Kingdom of Rosenblum the winner. Angelize tries to act tough and tells the other girls that the bonds they make together are more important than winning a mere tournament. Later, Angelize along with her family are on their way home when she comments that it is frustrating to perform the duties of a princess. The prince mentions that she will be having her baptism ceremony soon and showcase her light of mana to the civilians. On their way home, they are interrupted by an accident on the street. A Norma has appeared and the special forces are trying to keep it in place using the light shield. Turns out, Norma is someone unable to use mana light, and this time that person is a baby. The baby touches the light mana, and it shatters, proving the fact that she is a Norma. Angelize sees a Norma for the first time and is surprised. Meanwhile, the child's mom takes her kid away from the police and tries to protect her. Angelize gets out of the car and walks towards her mother. She informs the mother that her child is a monster who shouldn't be allowed to live among humans. The mother tries to request Angelize to let her baby stay, however, Angelize suggests she have another baby and discard this one. Hearing this comment makes the mother mad and she throws the baby's bottle at her. Momoka, Angelize's maid, protects her using mana light and, in the end, the forces manage to take the baby away. At night, Angelize is singing a song from the palace balcony, and her mother joins her. Angelize tells the queen about the Norma she saw today and asks her the reason such monsters exist. She dreams that the world will be free of Norma one day. Seeing how ruthless her daughter is, the queen gives Angelize one of her rings to calm her down. The next day, it is finally time for Angelize to have her baptism ceremony. She sits inside a machine, and it starts giving an error. The error suggested that a Norma was inside the machine. This makes everyone confused. The prince steps up and tells the king that he removed the veil. Afterward, he informs all the people gathered that her sister is a Norma and his family was trying to use the baptism ceremony to make her a part of the family. The queen tries to escape along with Angelize, but the forces are already gathered there. They surround her with mana light. As Angelize touches it, the mana light breaks, confirming the fact that she indeed is a Norma. One of the guards shoots Angelize, but the queen saves her, which results in her demise. Later, Angelize is restrained and brought to an unknown island. She is treated like a prisoner and Officer Emma starts taking all her belongings. This enraged Angelize and she calls Emma a lowly officer. Witnessing her ugly behavior prompts the commander to arrive and kick Angelize right in the stomach. The commander, named Jill, is impressed seeing how she was not caught for 16 years. Emma informs her that the royal maids used to help her take care of the mana light problems. Afterward, she slashes her clothes and restrains her on a table. Both Jill and Emma do some questionable acts with the princess, making Angelize scream her lungs out. The next morning, Angelize is taking a class with the other kids, where the teacher informs them that Norma is only allowed to live as a weapon and their job is to exterminate the dragons and keep the world safe. Jill tells Emma that they will be assigning Angelize to the first squadron. Afterward, she takes her to meet up with her new team members. The captain introduces herself as Zola, the lieutenant's name is Celia, and the lead pilots are Vivian, Hilda, and Rosalie. Angelize still tries to deny being Norma and tell the others that she is the first princess of Misurigi. The captain starts laughing at her while the other members roast her for being a weirdo. Hilda stomps on her foot and tells Angelize to know her place. Afterward, Zola assigns Celia, Hilda, and Vivian to train the fallen princess. Later, Celia tells Angelize to follow her, and she refuses, telling her not to order a princess around. Celia puts a knife on her throat and tells her that she needs to follow orders. She took her to the dressing room and gave Angelize a combat suit to wear. Angelize complains about it being a low-class suit and tells Celia that she'd rather walk commando. The lieutenant accepts her requests and throws her outside the room. After begging her way inside the room, she finally puts on that dress. On the other hand, Maggie is treating Jill in the nurse's room, whereas Jasmine is fixing her prosthetic arm. Later that day, Celia makes Angelize sit on the paramail. After telling her the basic information, Celia makes her fly the paramail. The speed makes it hard for Angelize to control and she seems to be having a hard time. The paramail starts going down and she realizes that it is similar to the vehicles she used in the tournament earlier. After a while, she gets the gist of it and manages to fly it normally, impressing Celia, who is keeping an eye on her. Later, while taking a shower, the captain along with the other girls are also impressed by her ability to fly the paramail. After they are done taking a shower, Celia shows Angelize her room. Afterward, her basic training begins. and Angelize scores above average in all of them. Subsequently, Angelize is eating food in the cafeteria when Hilda and the others decide to join her. She asks Rosalie how she could even eat this garbage food. Her comment enraged Rosalie, and she tells Angelize to know her place or she won't be able to live here for long. With that, Angelize ended up leaving the cafeteria. Suddenly, the two other girls approach her and introduce themselves as Miranda and Coco. Angelize then asks them to help her out with buying a notebook. Later, she shows them her gratitude, heads back to her room, and starts writing in the notebook. After finishing up, Angelize gives it to Jill, telling her that it is a calling of her entitlements as royalty, and asks her to deliver it to the head of all states. At that moment, Zola arrives and swiftly whisks Angelize away. As they flee, Zola pushes Angelize down and surprises her with a kiss. She starts rizzing the failed princess and gets slapped in return. The slap makes her prosthetic eye fall on the ground. Their workout is interrupted by an alarm and all the squad members are told to roll out. Everyone jumps in their paramail, ready to go and confront the dragons. Angelize realizes that she is outside and tries to run away on the paramail, planning to return to her empire. Celia catches up and threatens to shoot her. However, Coco also catches up with them and tells Angelize to take her as well. Out of nowhere, Coco's paramail is attacked by a dragon which results in her demise. There is apparently one big dragon and 22 smaller ones. Hearing this call makes Zola put the newbie training on hold and tells everyone to assume formation. Celia leaves Angelize for the moment and goes to assist her squad. Miranda catches up to Angelize and tells her that there won't be enough fuel left for her to successfully escape. Angelize ignores her warning and keeps on moving forward. Suddenly, more dragons attack and this time Miranda is the target. The dragons start attacking Angelize as well, while on the other hand, all the squad members are busy fighting the final boss. Just as Zola is about to finish the dragon off, Angelize appears out of nowhere and holds on to Zola's paramail, asking for her help. This gives the dragon an opportunity, and it attacks the two birds with one stone. After a while, Angelize gains consciousness and witnesses Zola's corpse lying above her, with her fake eye still missing. The mission ended up with 3 casualties and the destruction of 4 paramails, all due to Angelize's actions. Everyone is present in the room and Angelize tells them that it is not her fault as she only tried to return home. She doesn't feel guilty as according to her, Norma isn't human. Hearing this statement makes Hilda enraged and she kicks Angelize on her wounds. As Zola was eliminated, Jill chose Celia as the new captain and Hilda as the new lieutenant. After everyone left, Jill jibes Angelize the replies to all her petitions, and surprisingly, every single one of them was rejected. Jill leaves after telling Angelize that the Empire of Masurugi is no longer and all her family is finished. Later, Angelize is tasked to buy the graves and bury Zola, Coco, and Miranda. Seeing the graves of her squad members makes Angelize question her life. Jill tells her that all she needs to do is fight and eliminate the dragons. After all, Norma are only allowed to live if they fight dragons. However, the princess still refuses to admit being a Norma. Seeing how delusional one can get, Jill gives her a pen and she fails to make it float using monolight. This makes Angelize question the fact that she has to bear all the hardships just because she can't do a useless task. Jill reminds her that she is the one who is responsible for these rules in the first place, making Angelize realize all she had done during her time as a princess. Unexpectedly, Jill receives a message that the dragon has arrived. Angelize tells her that she wants to end her life and Jill suggests she do that properly while fighting dragons. Afterward, the commander takes Angelize to her new paramail called Vilcus. It is an old version that wasn't used for a while. Later, all the squad members head out. It is their first battle with Celia as the captain. They all try to dash towards the dragon, but it starts attacking them from below. Some of the paramails are damaged and Celia starts to panic as this fighting style is never seen before. Meanwhile, Angelize starts heading towards the dragon, ready to end her life. The dragon strikes, but it's not enough to destroy her paramail. During her second try, the dragon manages to catch her. The dragon was just about to finish her life when her blood fell on the ring the queen had gave her. This phenomenon makes the ring glow and her paramails reform. At this point, Angelize realizes that she doesn't want to meet her end and starts attacking the dragon. She dodges each and every attack and strikes the dragon, resulting in its demise. Afterward, Angelize cuts her hair and says her goodbyes to her past self. Later, the squad members gather around Jill. Celia requests to use Vilcus instead of Angelize, but Jill refuses as currently she is the one who is able to handle it better. On payday, everyone is getting paid for the number of dragons they slaughtered. Rosalie gets 180,000 for the week's work, whereas Angelize gets 550,000. Later, she opens her locker and finds her uniform is torn. She instantly realizes that Hilda and Rosalie are the ones responsible. Angelize takes out her knife and cuts down Rosalie's dress as well. Officer Emma is having a meeting and notices Angelize walking around the facility in torn uniform. She confronts her and tells her to replace it or buy a new one. Later, Rosalie tries to throw her food at Angelize, but it ends up hitting someone else. Afterward, they dissolve a pill in her water bottle. She realizes it instantly and transfers the water to Rosalie's mouth by giving her a kiss. This results in Rosalie having belly problems. Vivian visits the shopping mall to make some purchases, and she notices a new part of a paramail for sale. Jasmine tells her that it costs 18 million and she purchases it. Afterward, Angelize also appears and requests to buy a uniform. She is about to leave, but Jasmine shows her a new sword that she can use with her paramail. However, she doesn't like it and starts to walk away, but Jasmine once again stops her and tells her that she can solve the bullying with money. Apparently, she is able to buy them for 10 million each. Angelize likes the offer but still refuses to buy disgusting losers. On the other hand, Rosalie and her partner in crime are getting scolded by Celia for teasing Angelize. Hilda also arrives and tells them that buying their graves is not enough and she needs to pay for what she did with their fallen comrades. The three of them leave afterward while Rosalie complains that Hilda is not helping them trouble Angelize, and Hilda replies that she is busy with something else. Afterward, she takes the two of them to Zola's room and tells them that she has purchased Zola's belongings, including the two of them. Meanwhile, Vivian and Celia are hanging out in the same room. Vivian tells Celia that she has seen a picture of two people kissing in her drawer. Celia throws a knife at her and tells her not to go through her things again. Later, Vivian goes to the cafeteria and runs into Angelize. She notices Ursha on cooking duty and informs Angelize that her curry tastes the best. During their conversation, Vivian tries to give Angelize a spare keychain she had, but Angelize straight up rejects it and walks away, telling Vivian that she is better left alone. At night, Hilda sneaks into the place where the paramail is parked to mess up Angelize's paramail. The next day, alarms go off early in the morning. Everyone gets ready and hops on their paramail. One by one, everyone takes off and flies toward the dragon. Angelize breaks off the formation and flies towards the dragons on her own. However, her paramail suddenly stops working and starts going down. She manages to get it under control, but the dragon attacks it at the last second, making her fall into the ocean. Celia has to leave her because of the other dragon, but eventually drowns. After a while, Angelize gains consciousness and realizes that she is on a bed with a boy lying next to her. After they all have finished their mission, Celia tries to go and find Angelize, but the commander orders them to return for now. On the other hand, Angelize is confused to find herself restrained on a bed with a stranger. The boy tries to give her some water but ends up falling on top of her. Angelize kicks him, and he falls on the bed. The fall breaks the bed, and she is able to free herself. Angelize takes this opportunity and runs away. She goes back to her paramail and tries to start it, but it is not able to function due to the damage in its thrusters. She tries to look at the issue and finds a bunch of stuff, making her realize who the culprit is. The boy follows her and tries to inform Angelize that he is the one who saved her life. She takes out her gun and questions his intentions while the boy tells her in detail about all the cultured stuff he could have done but decides not to. Suddenly, a crab attacks his toes and he falls on top of her once again. Angelize ends up tying him up in the forest and leaves. Meanwhile, Jill orders the squad members to find Angelize no matter if she is alive or not. On the island, it starts raining and Angelize has nowhere to go. She takes shelter under a tree and gets bitten by a snake. The venom starts affecting her body and she loses consciousness soon after. The boy notices the snake bite and sucks the venom out. He brings her back to his hut and begins treating her. She soon wakes up and the boy hand feeds the princess. The next day, Angelize has finally recovered and finds the boy working on her paramail. He informs her that he has gotten used to it as the paramail parts wash up on the island. After a bunch of repairs, he is able to fix the radio and introduces himself as Tusk. Even though Angelize appreciates his help, she tells him that no one would come to help her. Tusk ends up offering her to live with him, to which she agrees. One night, the two of them sit and glare at the night sky. Suddenly, Tusk notices something and lies on top of Angelize as an excuse to hide her. Angelize witnesses a lot of aircraft moving a dinosaur from one place to another. Suddenly, another dinosaur attacks them and destroys the ships while all of them fall into the forest. One of the dragons falls in front of them and starts attacking. Having no other option, they run towards the paramail. Angelize tries to hold the dragon off while Tusk tries to fix the paramail. The dragon is about to attack Angelize, but suddenly her ring starts to glow, prompting the paramail to attack the dragon. Angelize uses this chance to stab and eliminate the dragon for good. Afterward, they both realize that their home in the forest is most likely destroyed, and they would need to find a new place. Unexpectedly, Vivian's voice starts coming from the radio. Turns out, they are on their way after Angelize informs her that she is still alive. Subsequently, Angelize tells Tusk that she will need to head back home and won't be able to stay with him. Angelize shows Tusk gratitude for saving her life and tells him her name. Suddenly, the rescue ship arrives and takes her away. Surprisingly, Tusk has a paramail of his own. He uses it and flies away. Meanwhile, Angelize calls Vivian by her name for the first time and asks Vivian to give her the keychain she previously told her about. After completing a mission and returning to the base, Rosalie complains that Angelize keeps on eliminating more dragons and makes more money than them. She picks up a screw and is about to throw it at her, but the alarms suddenly start going off. The announcement of an intruder breaking into the facility is made. Angelize goes to check it out and realizes that the intruder is none other than her personal maid Momoka. She recognized Angelize and gave her a tight hug. Later, the committee gives Officer Emma a call and tells her that Momoka will have to be eliminated. Jill tells her that it was expected as no one else is supposed to hear about the dragons. On the other hand, Angelize takes Momoka to her room. She tries to assist Angelize using monolight, but she refuses the help. Angelize tells Momoka that she will only be taking care of her because she was ordered and asks her not to bother her. Momoka tries to be persistent, and Angelize reminds her that she already knew she was a Norma from the beginning and goes to sleep. The next morning, Momoka doesn't get any food from the cafeteria. Later, she witnesses Rosalie and the gang making fun of Angelize. The loyal maid bursts out in anger and starts yelling at them. However, she faints in between. Later, Angelize buys her a burger as he hasn't eaten anything for the past 3 days. While they are enjoying their burgers, a gravely injured girl on a stretcher passes by them. The ketchup on the burger reminds Momoka of the girl she just saw, making her almost throw up. The next day, Angelize visits the locker and witnesses her locker switched with her closet back at the palace. This is not the only thing that changes as her bedroom and the food she eats start getting better. However, Angelize tells Momoka that she doesn't need any of this and walks away. Later that day, all the squad members are practicing shooting. The three musketeers mention that Momoka won't be returning back home alive as she would be disposed of. After eating dinner, Angelize goes to take a bath and Momoka joins her. While washing her back, Angelize notices the scar on Momoka's finger and asks her about it. She reminds Angelize that it was when they both were kids and Angelize was the one who put a band-aid on it so it wouldn't get worse. Hearing this story makes the cruel princess sentimental and she asks Momoka to leave the facility no matter what. However, she refuses and tells her to let her stay as much as she can. Suddenly, the dragon alarm starts going off and Angelize is forced to leave the bath time. Later, they all return from the mission, and as always Angelize ends up eliminating all the dragons herself. Simultaneously, it is time for Momoka to return and she is about to leave after showing her gratitude towards Officer Emma and Jill. Just as she is about to step on the aircraft, Angelize comes running with bags of cash and tells Jill that she would like to purchase Momoka. Surprisingly, Jill approves, and Momoka is allowed to stay by her side. Angelize keeps on eliminating all the dragons and Rosalie complains that because of her, they can barely afford food. Celia also warns her, but Angelize doesn't listen and walks away. Surprisingly, Celia and Jasmine seem to know that cultured boy and realize that he must be the one who saved Angelize's life. The next day, Emma is confused to see a human serving Norma, but Momoka informs her that she is happy to do so. Later, Celia goes to the shopping store. Surprisingly, Angelize and Momoka arrive there as well. Angelize removes the dressing room curtain and finds Celia cosplaying and acting like a freak. Celia is embarrassed and thinks that everyone might find out about her secret hobby. To secure her secret, Celia gives Angelize a visit. She attacks her with a knife and a full-fledged fight between the two starts. Angelize throws her in the bathtub and Celia gets out and pushes Angelize into the bathtub as well. Afterward, Jill calls them, and they are tasked to write a 50-page repentance essay as a punishment. The next day, Momoka tries to wake Angelize up but realizes that she has caught a fever. As Angelize wouldn't be taking part in the missions until her fever went down, she would have to give 1 million per day as compensation. Celia realizes that everything goes back to normal when Angelize doesn't take part in the missions. Later, Celia visits the girl who is fixing Angelize's paramail. She tells Celia that Angelize must rush towards the dragon alone as she doesn't want to lose any of her other squad members, and that is the reason their casualties have been 0. Suddenly, the dragon alarm goes out and the whole squad moves out, except for Angelize who still has a fever. During their mission, a new kind of dragon emerges. It is huge, and they have no idea about its attack pattern. Hilda rushes towards the dragon, planning to eliminate it and secure the bread. Unexpectedly, the dragon uses a gravity attack and makes all of them kiss the ground. The pressure is too much and the paramail is not able to move a centimeter. Out of nowhere, Celia hears the sound of a cough. She finds out that Angelize has appeared to help them. She tries to do it in her own way, but Celia yells at her and forces Angelize to listen to her calls. Celia instructs Angelize to go above the dragon and uses the pressure of gravity to break the dragon's horn off. This disrupts the gravity attack, and all the other members are able to defeat the dragon. Back at the facility, Everyone gets a lot of cash except for Angelise. Angelise asks Celia to give her some more or she will expose her weird hobbies. Afterward, the captain tells all the other squad members that they were able to earn this much because of Angelise and requests them not to bully the failed princess again. Later, all the girls throw Angelise in the bath for always being rude to them. They all jump with her afterward and enjoy their time together. After the bath, Momoka receives a call from Angelise's little sister asking for her help. The next day, everyone is getting ready for a test flight. However, Angelise is still thinking about the call she got from her little sister. Vivian points out that the Festa fleet is making their way to the facility. The next day, there seems to be a festival going on. Celia informs Angelise that the humans give them one day off and it is called Festa. On the other hand, Princess Misty Rosenblum came to the island for a visit and requested to meet Angelise. Momoka receives a call from Emma who informs her that Princess Misty wants to meet Angelise. However, she doesn't plan to meet the princess and puts on a mascot to hide herself from Emma's sight. On the takeoff platform, two girls are enjoying themselves, but the creepy mascot gives them a visit and scares them away. Angelise takes their spot and rests for a while. Meanwhile, Momoka is trying to find Angelise and gets caught by Hilda who puts a gun to her head. Later, Princess Misty is resting in her room and suddenly hears the sound of her maids receiving a beating. Afterward, Angelise visits her room and asks Princess Misty to help her escape, followed by threatening the princess with a knife. Princess Misty informs her that the royal family will be executed for deceiving the people and she needs to help her little sister before it's too late. On the other hand, Hilda takes Momoka to the plane that Princess Misty used and orders her to fly it and help her escape. Momoka refuses while Angelise along with Princess Misty arrives. Both of them point guns at each other and Hilda offers to work together as she is the only one who knows how to remove the lock on this plane. Angelise agrees to work together and all of them get to work. Chris manages to win 1 million cash at the Festa and searches for Hilda, but she is nowhere to be found. After working hard and completing everything that is required, the plane is ready to take off. The aircraft starts moving and Hilda runs towards it, but Angelise orders Momoka to lift off. Angelise reminds Hilda of all the mean things she did to her. Hilda runs as fast as she can and manages to jump on the ramp. Hilda tells Angelise that she has been putting up with all the crap just so she can escape on a plane like this as her sole purpose is to meet her mother. The takeoff makes Hilda lose her balance and she is about to fall, but Angelise ends up helping her get on the plane. Jill, Jasmine, and Emma witness the plane getting stolen right in front of their eyes. Jill orders Jasmine to contact Tusk and tell him about the situation. Meanwhile, they manage to land the plane safely and run away, leaving Princess Misty tied up in the plane. Hilda finds an old bike and decides to steal it. Both of them head out in different directions after saying their goodbyes. Hilda remembers the time before she got taken as Norma. She was still a little child who was obsessed with her mother. Until one day, the special forces took her away and there was nothing her mother could do to help. Back to the present, Hilda breaks into a shop and steals a bunch of clothes. Meanwhile, Angelise and Momoka take shelter under a bridge and plan to execute their mission during nighttime. At night, Angelise breaks into the school to steal the transport vehicles. Once inside, Angelise realizes that her old friend Akiho is still inside. Akiho starts shaking and is terrified after seeing her face. Angelise trusts her, but Akiho tries to call the special forces, resulting in her getting restrained. Angelise makes her way towards the royal palace while Hilda is on her way to her old house. She visits her house and sees her mom for the first time in years. However, Hilda's mother doesn't recognize her and thinks that she is her daughter's friend. On the other hand, the forces finally catch up to Angelise and start following her. Tusk has also arrived and is spying on them. The police use monolight to stop them, but Angelise easily breaks it. The police realize that it won't affect Angelise and start using a normal net to stop their vehicle. Angelise speeds up and enters a secret tunnel, losing all the police cars following her. Even Momoka doesn't know about this tunnel, but her brother is well aware and already predicted her route. After getting out of the tunnel, they finally arrive at the palace, but the guards are present there as well. Sylvia also appears, which makes Angelise start shooting at the guards, telling them to return Sylvia to her. On the other hand, Hilda is eating the apple pie her mother made. And unexpectedly, another girl arrives whose name is also Hilda and is her little sister. Hilda finally clears up the misunderstanding and informs her mom that she is the real Hilda. A look of terror appears on her mother's face, and she asks her the reason Hilda came back. The other girl asks her mom if Hilda is her older sister, but she replies that Hilda is nothing but a monster. Her mother begs her to leave them alone, making Hilda weep and run away. Meanwhile, Angelise is giving the guards a hard time and they can't seem to restrain her. Sylvia makes her way towards Angelise, and just as they are about to meet each other, Sylvia takes out a dagger and cuts Angelise's arm. She starts shouting at Angelise that it is all her fault that their family is destroyed and starts wishing that Angelise was never born. This makes Angelise go in a state of shock. The guards use this opportunity and restrain her using nets. Afterward, her brother emerges from the shadows and informs Angelise that it was all to lure her out and now she will pay for her crimes. Angelise is tied and constantly attacked with a whip by her little sister. Her elder brother shows his gratitude towards Momoka for bringing Norma to them. He announces that he is the one who exposed Angelise to the world. The only reason he sent Momoka was so she could bring her back. The poor maid was being manipulated the whole time. Afterward, the guards take Angelise towards the gallows while everyone makes fun of her. This makes her realize that Momoka is the only one who is loyal to her from the start, seeing how she has no other choice but to get executed. Angelise starts singing the song that her mother used to sing. The guards take her to the gallows and hang her. Out of nowhere, a paramale arrives and cuts the rope, releasing Angelise and saving her life. Turns out it is Tusk, and he came to save her life. The guards start attacking her, but she easily handles all of them. Afterward, Angelise, along with Tusk and Momoka, hops on the paramale and flies away. Her elder brother keeps on yapping and Angelise throws a blade at him to quiet him down. After a while, Tusk finally wakes up after he lost consciousness earlier. Momoka asks Angelise the kind of relationship the two have and Tusk replies that it is a special one. This makes Momoka excited as she thinks that her loner master finally got someone who likes her. Later, Tusk returns her ring and tells Angelise that the commander told him not to let Angelise meet her demise. After dropping Angelise off on the island, she thanks him for saving her life. Tusk also praises the way she sings and takes off. Afterward, Jill arrives and punches her in the stomach. Later, Angelise is locked in a jail cell. Celia arrives and informs her that all her wealth and property will be confiscated by the facility for trying to desert them. After they leave, Angelise realizes that she is not alone in the cell, but Hilda is there by her side as well. Hilda asks Angelise what the special forces did to her, and she replies that she was whipped, mocked, and hanged in front of everyone, while Hilda was beaten up by 50 men. After a short while, Hilda wakes up from a nightmare and contemplates the reason they are still alive after being mocked and bashed by every other human being. Hilda tells Angelise that she doesn't even have any friends at the facility as before she arrived. Chris and Rosalie came to mock her and left after spitting on her face. Hilda wishes that she could end her life, but Angelise suggests not to. This makes Hilda think that Angelise cares about her. However, Angelise tells Hilda that her corpse would smell, and it would be hell for her to live in the cell. Hearing Hilda's little speech makes Angelise motivated as well, and she starts contemplating how messed up the world they live in is. She tells Hilda that the two of them should use paramale and destroy humanity. Sylvia wakes up from a nightmare and goes to check on her elder brother. Meanwhile, the prince is busy doing questionable stuff with someone he calls Mama. The little sister peeks from the door and is traumatized for the rest of her life. Turns out that the girl he is calling Mama is no normal girl and has wings on her back. She notices Sylvia and starts strangling her using her tail. Meanwhile, Celia tells the other squad members that their squad is put on hold due to what happened with the rest of their members. Angelise and Hilda have been locked in the prison cell for a week now. Afterward, Celia is busy taking care of the flowers when a bunch of 9-year-olds arrive and tell her that they want to grow up and be like Celia. This reminds her of Electra, the girl she used to look up to, and how once she arrived back at the facility all were wounded. Jasmine, who was still young at that time, took her out of the paramale. Electra told her that the family heirloom was hidden under the bottom of the third drawer and later apologized for not being talented enough to fight Vilcus. Celia was present there as well and promised Electra to take revenge on whoever did this to her. Back to the present. On her way back, Celia still wonders why Jill doesn't allow her to use Vilcus. Out of nowhere, a portal opens right above the facility and several dragons emerge from the portal. Jill orders everyone to take their positions and fight the upcoming dragons. One of the dragons breaks into the control room and Emma manages to eliminate it. Suddenly, the dragons start heading back and 3 unknown paramale come out of the portal. Their one attack is enough to demolish half of the island. Momoka takes advantage of this state of emergency to help Angelise and Hilda escape. Jill orders Celia to get Angelise from her cell as she and Vilcus are the only ones who can defeat the unknown paramale. Celia requests to use it but Jill refuses. Ultimately, Celia decides to go against her order and takes off with Vilcus. Later, Hilda and Angelise arrive at the takeoff platform, and after realizing that Celia stole Vilcus, both of them use Hilda's paramale to fight the dragons. On the other hand, Celia doesn't seem to control Vilcus as efficiently as Angelise does. Meanwhile, Angelise tells Hilda to take the paramale near Vilcus so she can jump and retrieve her paramale. She somehow manages to successfully land on the Vilcus and later throws Celia out, ordering Hilda to catch her midair. Finally, the fight between Angelise and the unknown paramale begins. After fighting and giving each other a hard time, the unknown paramale steps back and starts powering up to attack Angelise. At the same time, Angelise hears the song she always sings and starts singing along. This makes her ring glow once again. Subsequently, Vilkas starts changing colors and powering up as well. Both of them attack each other and everything blacks out. Soon, Angelise opens her eyes and finds herself face to face with the other paramale. A girl comes out and several unknown memories start playing in front of her. Afterward, the other girl leaves after telling Angelise that the truth she seeks lies with Aura. Later, Vivian visits her room and goes to sleep. The world leaders are having a meeting and are surprised to see the unknown paramale that arrived. They also witness the sight of Vilkas, and everyone seems troubled after seeing it. After listening to their useless discussion, one of the members got up and walked towards the table. His name is Embryo, and he suggests that there are 3 options. One is to surrender, and the other is to eliminate the dragons. The second is to fight them, and the third is to destroy the world and start from scratch. This plan will start with exterminating all the Norma and the paramale. Angelise's brother, Giulio, likes the plans and is ready to support them. Once everyone is on the same side, Embryo tells Giulio to accomplish this mission and use whatever is necessary. Tusk is eavesdropping on their conversation and ends up hearing everything they say. Meanwhile, back at the facility, many paramale riders were eliminated after the recent fight. Jill makes Hilda the new captain as no one else is suitable, considering Celia is locked in prison for not listening to the commander's orders. Afterward, Angelise appears and tells Jill that she wants to know everything. Jill takes her to have a bath and starts explaining everything. Many years ago, humanity used to fight each other constantly, but a scientist didn't like how the world was and decided to change it somehow. He made what today is called monolight. However, some of the girls started being born without the monolight. The scientist decided to use this for his own good and told the people that Norma is a monster and should be outcast from society. This resulted in the humans hating a specific kind while all the others started living in harmony. As expected, some non-monolight users, called the Ancient Folk, started to retaliate and attack the facilities in order to reclaim how the world once used to be. They found Vilkas in one of the facilities and decided to use it and challenge the scientist. But it was a big mistake as not everyone was able to use it. They almost gave up hope but got to know about Norma, who were cast away as well. They both joined forces and started waiting for someone to arrive who could unlock and use Vilkas. The first person who could use it was Electra, also known as Jill. Soon after, she started gathering people who were ready to fight oppression and named that group Libertas. In the beginning, it didn't work out and Electra ended up losing her arm during a fight. After all that happened, Angelise showed up and started to ride Vilkas. In the end, Jill wants Angelise to join Libertas and fight the oppression. However, Angelise tells her that she likes the life she is living here and doesn't want to fight against the whole world. Meanwhile, Vivian woke up and somehow transformed into a dragon. Everyone is confused seeing her and the girls start shooting at her. Finally, Angelise takes it upon herself to fight the dragon, but instead of fighting it, she starts to sing that song, which results in Vivian transforming into a human again. Everyone is confused after seeing what just happened. Afterward, they go to the site where they burn all the eliminated dragons. The moment they are lit up with fire, they start transforming into humans. This makes Angelise realize that she has been eliminating humans instead of dragons all this time. Afterward, a message from the Norma administration starts showing up. They tell everyone that ships are coming to help them evacuate, but in reality, it is Giulio on those ships carrying some ill intentions. Everyone seems confused after hearing the announcement made by the Norma administration. However, Jill knows what's up and orders the artillery gun to shoot the ships. The battleships start deploying missiles on the facility. Meanwhile, Jill is heading down in an elevator and informs everyone about the real intentions of those ships and announces the commencement of Operation Libertas. Afterward, Jill orders Celia to bring Angelise with her without fail. There seems to be a big ship hidden underground. Jill takes a few of the paramale riders with her and orders them to take the pilot seat, the communications seat, and the radar seat. Everyone is getting ready to hop in their paramales when Chris notices the weird machines flying in the air. Those discs start spinning and destroy the path of takeoff. On the other hand, the soldiers catch some of the girls and execute them as their orders are to exterminate all of them except for Angelise and Vilkas. Meanwhile, Maggie is fighting the soldiers that infiltrated the facility. Emma tries to use the human card, but the soldiers couldn't care less and shoot at her as well. Hilda and Rosalie are also fighting the soldiers when suddenly Hilda notices a soldier about to shoot Chris. She saves her by tanking the bullets. Meanwhile, Celia tells Angelise that she and Vilkas need to escape unharmed. Momoka realizes what Angelise wants and throws pepper at Jasmine and Celia, making full use of this opportunity and running away. Celia tells Jill that Angelise has escaped, which results in Jill asking for Tusk's aid to help capture her. Afterward, Angelise and Momoka arrive in the main hall and witness the pile of corpses lying in front of them. Angelise starts to throw up and Momoka runs to grab some water for her. All of a sudden, Embryo appears and tells Angelise that her brother is responsible for everything and reveals his whereabouts so she can end it once and for all. Suddenly, Angelize hears Momoka scream and runs towards her. She eliminates both the guards who were trying to shoot Momoka. Later, she runs towards the takeoff platform and flies off in Vilcus. Angelize starts shooting all the disc robots and Celia joins her as well. She tells her to go back and follow Jill's orders. However, Angelize informs her that she liked living in the facility, and she will eliminate her brother for taking that away from her. Angelize breaks off Celia's paramail's arm and moves forward, while she falls into the ocean. Meanwhile, Rosalie, Chris, and Hilda are preparing to take off as well. One of the soldiers shoots Chris in the head and her paramail crashes and eventually explodes. Ursha visits the childcare nursery and every single kid is dead. On the other hand, the ring makes Vilcus change colors and a red beam starts appearing around it. Angelize uses it to destroy all the ships blocking her way. In the end, she reaches the ship where her brother is present. She starts off his things by shooting him in the leg. Afterward, Angelize orders that loser to call off the attacks, and when he does, she raises her sword to eliminate the worthless fool. However, Paramail arrives out of the blue and stops Vilcus from ending Julio's life. Surprisingly, Embryo is riding the Paramail and offers to eliminate Julio instead. He uses the same attack Vilcus uses and obliterates Angelize's brother. Later, Tusk arrives and warns Angelize to get away as Embryo is a dangerous man. He starts powering up to attack Tusk, but Angelize rushes towards him and manages to save him in the nick of time. Angelize wakes up and finds herself getting licked by a dragon. It is none other than Vivian. Angelize remembers that she was teleported somewhere by Vilcus after she saved Tusk. She looks around and everything is covered by plants. She tries to use the radio, but no one replies and no motion is detected by Paramail within 5 kilometers. Tusk tries to fix Vilcus while Angelize rides Vivian and takes a look around the area. Surprisingly, the whole area around them is covered with plants as if no one lived there for years. Angelize notices towers at a distance and realizes that they are the Tower of Dawn, which points towards the fact that they are in the Mitsurugi Empire. Afterward, they arrive at a dome-like building and decide to take a look inside. The whole area is covered with corpses. Angelize asks the Eye to give them information about this place. The Eye shows her a video of war between countries where Ragna Mail was used and it resulted in the extermination of humanity. The war was 518 years ago, and according to the Eye, these two were the only humans alive at this moment. Angelize gets frustrated after hearing this crap and starts forcing Vivian to fly her around even though she is tired. Tusk tries to stop her, but the poor guy gets enveloped by her anger. She roasts the people who fight against the humans for Norma. This makes Tusk enraged as his parents were among the people who lost their lives trying to attain freedom. He leaves afterward and starts ignoring her the next morning. While she is contemplating the fact that she made the chicken boy angry, Angelize finds a locket and tries to put it near the place where Tusk is working. Tusk notices it and ends up wearing it. This makes Angelize apologize for her rude comments. Later, during her recon, Angelize finds a hotel that seems to be in perfect state. Vivian and Angelize take a bath and are ready to go to bed. Tusk decides to sleep in the hallway, but Angelize tells him to sleep in the room with her. The moment he sits on the couch, it breaks, leaving him no other option but to sleep on the bed. The two of them lay down next to each other. Tusk can't handle his hormones and decides to leave, but Angelize stops him. The desperate girl takes off her plot and things between them start getting heated. However, Tusk's lucky day was interrupted by an explosion outside. Two humans appear out of nowhere and tell Angelize and Tusk that they are false people. The two unknown humans lock these two in a container and plan to take them somewhere. Finally, after reaching their destination, the container door opens and they notice a palace-like building in front of them. They take them to someone called the Priestess. She asks for their names, which makes Angelize mad. She yells at the Priestess to tell them her name first, which startles everyone present. A person emerges from behind a curtain, and Angelize recognizes her as the girl she once fought. She introduces herself as Salamandine, the princess of the Freja family. Salamandine informs the others that they will need to keep Angelize alive for a while as she can operate Vilcus. Afterward, she gives them a private room and serves them food. Later, Salamandine tells them that they indeed are on Earth and these people are also humans after Tusk asks her about it. She further adds that there is another Earth in a parallel dimension, and a number of people migrated to the other Earth, which is where Angelize and Tusk came from. At this point, Angelize loses her cool and she starts to threaten Salamandine with a blade. Salamandine gets up and takes Angelize to show her the truth. She takes her to the Dawn Pillar, and once they are underground, Salamandine tells Angelize that this is where Aura used to live. Aura is the first dragon who lived on this Earth. After the war ended, the people decided to take the form of dragons and clean whatever mess they made in this world. They were able to transform the planet into something much cleaner, but it didn't last long. Soon, the handsome boy arrived and took Aura away to his own world, also known as the Second Earth. Apparently, Aura is the source of Mana Light, and they use the dragons to resupply energy to Aura so they can keep the Mana Light facade going. Angelise tells her that she still wants to leave, but Salamandine tries to stop her, saying that her return would only mean the elimination of their people. The two of them begin to fight, and the proud princess gets beaten to a pulp by Salamandine. She soon passes out and wakes up in a bed. Vivian is standing next to her, in a human form this time. Angelise hears a commotion and goes to check it out. It turns out that the cultured boy is getting his body inspected by a ton of thirsty girls. Afterward, Salamandine arrives and brings a few more ladies along with her. She informs Vivian that the lady standing next to her is her mother. The so-called mother starts hugging her, but Vivian doesn't recognize her. Salamandine informs them that she must have gone through the tunnel with the other dragons and got lost on the fake Earth. Later, a festival is held to celebrate the return of one of their people. All of them release sky lanterns in the sky to enjoy this rare occasion. While taking part in the celebration, Angelise contemplates the reason they are making them stay. The two guards who captured them earlier appear and tell them that Salamandine's sole intention is to teach them about her people and learn more about them as well. This makes Tusk wonder if it is better for them to stay here, as they might never have to worry about war and freedom on this earth. Inside the palace, the person who was always with Prince Julio, Lizardia, is giving her report to the priestess. She manages to find the location where Aura is hidden, and they plan to retrieve and bring Aura back to their planet. Meanwhile, Angelise wakes up and finds Tusk wrapped in a bed sheet, struggling to move. This reminds her that she had to restrain the desperate boy, so he doesn't go around messing with girls. Tusk accidentally falls on top of her and Salamandine arrives. She tells them to continue to act as she would like to spectate. On the other hand, Vivian has gotten familiar with her new mother, but Angelise thinks that they all might be playing a trick on them. After eating breakfast, Vivian's mother takes her to show around the area while Salamandine takes Angelise to a bowling alley. They inform them that it is preserved and still works to this day. It is thanks to Salamandine, who restored all the sports facilities around the area. Afterward, Salamandine asks Angelise to assist them in their fight, as they will end up getting Aura back and the two of them will receive their freedom. She tells Angelise that they both will compete in different types of sports, and if Angelise wins, she will be allowed to leave and do whatever she pleases. She accepts, and the first game they play is tennis. Surprisingly, both of them give each other a hard time. Not only in tennis but in baseball, Formula 1, golf, table tennis, vending machines, and Twister as well. During their Twister game, Salamandine uses her tail and Angelise complains that she is cheating, prompting her to bite her tail and making both of them fall and lose the game. This makes the two of them laugh, and the guards are surprised to see Salamandine laugh for the first time. Later, the two of them are taking a shower and Salamandine praises her for being good at sports, and Angelise hits her back with the same remarks. Meanwhile, Vivian is in her mother's house when suddenly the ground starts shaking. A portal-like energy starts appearing near the Tower of Dawn, and the other Earth can be seen through it. All of them hop on their paramail and head towards the portal to save the people around it. The portal starts spreading and some of the citizens are engulfed by it. Vivian and her mother are also trying to escape, but an Iria comes flying through the portal and lands on her mother, making her immobile. Tusk also joins them and informs them that Embryo is the one responsible, as he did something similar in the past as well. An idea pops into Angelise's non-existent brain, and she tells Salamandine that they should use the Vilcus attack that they both used in their battle. Salamandine tells her that it is very powerful and could destroy the whole city. Angelise suggests using it at 30% power, and even though Salamandine is unsure about it, she still agrees. Both of their paramail starts powering up, but suddenly, Vilcus malfunctions and loses an arm. However, her ring starts shining and the hand is regenerated. She attacks once again, and this time, the portal finally disappears. Afterward, Salamandine shows her gratitude for saving her people and informs Angelise that the song they were singing was the same one Embryo sang while destroying the planet. Salamandine and Angelise are taking a bath in the hot springs. She informs Angelise that her people plan to invade the Misurugi Empire and retrieve Aura from the fake humans. Afterward, Salamandine tells Angelise that it is up to her if she wants to stay on this planet or return to the other one. Later, Angelise discusses it with Tusk, who reassures her that he would be willing to accept whatever choice she makes and will support her. At night, Vivian's mother arranges a party to show her gratitude to Angelise, who saved their people. Meanwhile, the simp boy seems to be enjoying the company of girls. Suddenly, Angelise appears and sits next to Tusk. She feeds him and later tells him that she wants to go back home and live with Momoka and the others. Salamandine hears her decision and tells her that if she goes back home, the two of them might have to fight. However, Angelise informs her that she won't be participating in any kind of fight. Later, Angelise and Tusk are hanging out in Vivian's house, and her mother realizes that Vivian will be leaving tomorrow. She tells Vivian that she has grown quite a lot and has met a lot of wonderful people, so it is important for her to return. Before leaving, she promises her mother to return back one day. The next morning, the whole army is ready to attack Misurugi. The short priestess makes an appearance and tries to motivate the army that will be going to fight the battle. The portal opens and everyone is on their way to the other Earth. Vivian tells them that she will be hanging out with Celia and the others once they achieve peace. Meanwhile, the cultured boy is already dreaming of getting married to Angelize and wants to open a cafe with her. Afterward, they all enter their planet and find a ton of missiles heading their way. Several paramales also arrive, ready to take on the upcoming dragons. Apparently, Lizardia was captured by Embryo to gain the necessary information regarding their attack pattern. Salamandine is fighting a paramale and starts to get overwhelmed. Luckily, Angelize appears and helps her. Norma, riding the paramale, recognizes Angelize, who is riding the Vilcus. Salamandine realizes that their plans are leaked, and the best choice is to retreat for now. Angelize holds the paramales while the others retreat. One of the paramale catches up to Vilcus and opens the front hatch, revealing Celia to be the pilot. Not only she but Ursha and Chris join the battle as well and are disappointed to see Angelize helping out the dragons. Embryo orders them to capture Angelize and bring her back alive. The four of them start fighting Angelize. Salamandine is witnessing the one-sided battle, but there is nothing she can do. The three paramales restrict Vilcus using wires from all three directions. Fortunately, Vivian shoots one of the wires, allowing Vilcus to break free. In the end, Angelize's ring starts glowing again and Vilcus teleports to their old facility. While they are enjoying dinner, three weird-looking creatures emerge from the ocean. Angelize thinks that they are ghosts and gets frightened, but turns out it is Momoka, Hilda, and Rosalie. Hilda comes near Tusk and holds his Excalibur in order to confirm that the person in front of her really is a male. Angelize and Tusk are back on Aurora, the huge underwater ship. They inform all the others about their journey to the other Earth. Angelize requests all of them that it is better to join forces with the dragons. She also informs them about Aura and how Monolite would cease to exist if the dragon took Aura back. Jill stands up and tells Angelize that this isn't enough for them and asks Angelize if she has forgotten what the people of her country did to them and how they were betrayed by humans. However, in the end, she still approves to join an alliance with the dragons. Afterward, everyone is sitting in the cafeteria and Tusk is surprised to see that Aurora is still functioning. It is a flagship that was built by his predecessors. Hilda reveals that the commander told all the Norma her real identity and all the things that happened before their arrival. Their conversation is interrupted by Emma, who is more drunk than a middle-aged dad. She tells everyone that even humans betrayed her, and the only person she can trust now is the commander. While taking a shower, Hilda asks Angelize if she and Tusk did the deed together, but she refuses. Later, Jill came up with a plan to attack the enemies and held a meeting. She informs everyone that Embryo seems to be staying in the Tower of Dawn and that is their main target. Her plan is to distract them with the dragons and take Aurora as close to them as possible undetected. Angelize questions if they will be saving Celia and the others, and Jill replies that they are nothing but tools who betrayed them and there is no need to do such a thing. Angelize and Tusk realize that she plans to use dragons as a sacrifice to attain success. Angelize refuses to listen to her orders and Jill shows her footage of Momoka tied up in the basement. Angelize gets furious and points her gun at Jill, but she easily tackles Angelize and kicks her in the face. Tusk tries to stop her but gets punched as well. As a last resort, he activates the gas device he planted earlier, which makes everyone except them lose consciousness. Angelize goes and saves Momoka while Tusk resurfaces Aurora so they can get off the ship. Celia and the others detect Aurora and head towards it. Surprisingly, Jill arrives at the takeoff platform and tries to stop them. A one-on fight between Angelize and Jill commences, and eventually, Angelize comes on top. She opens the Aurora's hatch and hops in Vilcus. Before leaving, Angelize tells Jasmine that Jill was right even though her ways were wrong. Out of nowhere, Ursha and the others arrive, and they are ready to fight Vilcus head-on. Tusk realizes that they are trying to target and drown Aurora. Angelize tries to save the ship and attacks the other paramales. Ursha attacks Vivian and her paramale goes down. Out of nowhere, Celia arrives and breaks the hatch of Vilcus. She then gets out of her paramale and fires a bullet at Angelize, making her lose consciousness. After a while, she wakes up in her old bedroom in the palace. She realizes that Embryo decided to save them for some reason. However, she still plans to revolt and thinks of a plan to conduct a raid. Her plan is interrupted by Celia and two other Normas who come along with her. Celia informs her that it was Embryo who saved her life when Jill and the others left her to meet her end. Angelize tries to roast Celia for being a puppet but gets slapped in return. Angelize uses this opportunity and fights all three of them. She escapes and heads out. Unexpectedly, a lot of kids gather around her and recognize who she is. Later, Ursha and Angelize talk about what happened after she left. Ursha tells them that it was Embryo who revived all the children present. She tells them that her goal is to exterminate all the humans and live a life of freedom with the kids. Afterward, Chris arrives and takes them to Embryo. Surprisingly, Sylvia is also present there punishing Lisa. Angelize pulls out a gun, but Embryo arrives and takes her away to have a private talk. Meanwhile, Jill and the others find out that Angelize is taken away by Embryo while the location of Tusk and Vivian is still unknown. On the other hand, Rosalie despises Angelize for coming back and making things worse for them. Hilda replies that they must have a good reason behind it, and she just needs to bring Angelize back. Embryo takes Angelize underground where Aura is trapped and tells Angelize that he can't abandon humanity, and it is necessary to sacrifice the dragons. Angelize puts a gun on his head and asks him to let Aura go. He refuses at first, which results in Angelize creating a hole in his head, unexpectedly. He comes back from the dead even after Angelize shoots him a couple of times. Embryo starts a conversation and tells Angelize that it is not so bad being a Norma, as all they have to do is fight dragons and live a carefree life, whereas thinking about oneself and living is a burden. Angelize starts to lose consciousness during this conversation, and by the end of it, she becomes a complete puppet. She starts taking off her clothes and the deranged boy starts taking advantage of her. Fortunately, her memory of Tusk brings Angelize back to her real self. Afterward, she threatens him that he will be eliminated by her hands as many times as necessary. Embryo then tells Angelize that he has lived for thousands of years, just so he could meet someone like her. Meanwhile, Hilda tries to go to Jill's room and witnesses her having a nightmare. In the Aurora, Jill criticizes Tusk that despite being the Knight of Vilcus, his actions led Angelize to be lost and caused the failure of their plan, Libertas. With a hatred voice, she says that Tusk has brought everything to ruin and disgraced his father. Jill decides to take the course back to Arsenal. In Celia's room, Embryo approaches Celia and tells her that it would be good for them to allow Angelize to join the Diamond Rose Knights, but she denies the idea. Therefore, Embryo flirts with Celia, and she thinks that even her resolve is wavering. However, Celia tries to stop Angelize, who intends to pass her and confront Embryo, but Angelize manages to pass and goes right into the library where Embryo is. In the library, Embryo serves Angelize tea with a smile and proposes to marry her. He promises to fulfill her wish to destroy the world and explains his failed attempts to use mana for peace due to humanity's greed. When Angelize asks how to change the world, Embryo starts singing a song called Toa Gatari. Embryo tells Angelize that this song is built based on unified theory and tells her that he has converted a law which influences cosmos into a melody. He tells Angelize that his plan is to amplify the song using the Ragna Mail, and as a result, fuse both worlds and create a new world by exploiting Aura's energy. However, Angelize protests and stabs Embryo's hand with a knife, fixing it to the table. Angelize then cuts Embryo's throat, believing that this is the end. However, he casts magic which heightens sensory overload on Angelize, and by doing so, he makes Angelize get excited. Meanwhile, in Hilda's bedroom, she and Rosalie pour out their hearts to each other and strengthen their bond, realizing that Angelize and Chris are very important to them, and they make a firm decision to rescue them. After Hilda enters the prison where Tusk is, Hilda appeals to Tusk for assistance since she does not trust Jill. Later, Jill tries to go to the place where Paramail are and is going to get in one, but a tense standoff begins with Hilda sabotaging Jill's attempt to attack. Meanwhile, Momoko witnesses Lisa being mistreated by Sylvia. In Aurora, Jill admits to being manipulated by Embryo, expressing remorse for her actions and pledging to execute him. Jasmine, recognizing Jill's sincerity, transfers leadership to Hilda. On the other hand, Embryo attempts to manipulate Angelize, but she resists. Celia informs Angelize of her need to leave, offering assistance. As Angelize and Momoko depart, Ursha intervenes, prompting Vilcus to respond. The singular point opens, revealing Salamandine, who arrives to aid Angelize. Meanwhile, Tusk says he will push into the center of the Masurugi Empire. On the deck of Aurora, Hilda gives an order to her Paramail squadron while recruits say that it is stressful for them to fly over the human world. The Aurora surfaces and the Hilda Corps launch their attack. Above Masurugi, Angelize meets Salamandine. They manage to help Angelize escape and head over the Tower of Dawn to save Aura. Vivian locates Angelize by feeling Angelize's signal with her native sense and turns her Paramail with one wing raised higher than the other and set off for the place where Angelize is. After Hilda reunites with Angelize, Chris targets Angelize, attempting to capture her. Hilda intervenes, leading to a one-on-one battle between Hilda and Chris. Chris expresses frustration at being treated as a lightweight during her time in the facility. Meanwhile, Momoko tries to revive Angelize at the crash site of Vilcus. As Momoko goes to find a car, Angelize faces an enemy under Embryo's control. In the middle of an aerial battle, Rosalie asks Chris why they need to make war with each other. Chris has a sudden flashback where she receives hair accessories from Hilda. She is told that she should make her hairstyle fit in with the hair accessory due to the fact that her hairstyle does not match Hilda's present. Chris says that she could hardly believe she had put up with the self-important attitudes just because she thought they were her friends. Chris reveals Embryo's deceptive proposal of friendship, leading her to reject Hilda and Rosalie. Mary tries to assist Hilda and the others, despite the risk of disobeying orders. Meanwhile, Embryo asserts his authority as the creator, claiming control over mana users. Above the Aknomi Hashira, Salamandine battles with Ursha and tells Naga and Kanaim that it is impossible for them to recapture Aura, and that it would be a good decision for their troops to pull out. Salamandine tells Riza that instead of regretting the day she lost a lot of friends in battle, she must work with them and recapture Aura to help a large number of her friends. Meanwhile, Angelise arrives at the roof where Embryo is and meets Tusk. He buys Angelise some time to get away by battling Embryo. When Hilda tries to withdraw, she is attacked by Chris, but then Marika comes to her aid but meets her demise. After Embryo teleports to Angelise's location, Tusk arrives to rescue the girls. However, Momoka, still under control, attacks him. She regains control but falls down a cliff while fighting Embryo. Tusk manages to get Angelise on his machine and, in a heartfelt moment, kisses her, promising to always be by her side. He then confronts Embryo, triggering a Deadman's Vest and destroying the area. Salia receives a beating from Embryo for letting Angelise escape. Lisa returns to Aurora and tells everyone about Embryo's plan to merge the two Earths and make one planet. Salamandine asks Hilda to form an alliance and she agrees. Afterward, Emma, who is controlled by Embryo, arrives. Salamandine screams at her, which breaks the manipulation power. Later, Ursha arrives in Embryo's room and requests to revive the children who lost their lives during their last battle. However, he refuses and tells her that there is no need for children like them to exist in their new world. On the other hand, Rosalie makes up her mind to fight even if she has to eliminate Chris herself. Jasmine tells Jill that Salia might have not betrayed them if she had treated her with more care. On the other hand, Angelise arrives at the shack where Tusk used to live. Salia is also enraged at Angelise for always getting the things she wants and makes up her mind to end Angelise and receive praise from Embryo. Meanwhile, Lisa informs Maggie and Emma that humans were programmed to hate Norma, and they are living proof of this manipulation. They have the potential to expose the lies that humans have been fed for years. Suddenly, the mana light started to vanish from the world, and everyone is in chaos, not knowing what to do. All the government leaders also asked Embryo about his plan to move forward and asked him to assist them. However, he straight up refuses and tells them that they will not be required in the new world he is making. Meanwhile, after burying the children, Ursha tells Chris that she was being manipulated all this time by Embryo. She then asks Chris about her future plans, and Chris tells her that she will not be going back and will fight. In the shack, Angelise finds Tusk's diary and reads everything he wrote, which ends up making her cry and she tries to end her life. However, remembers how Tusk asked her to live and gives up. At sunset, she is sitting, gazing at the setting sun when out of the blue, Tusk arrives and hugs her from behind. She doesn't believe that it is the real one and slaps him to make sure. She can't control her emotions and starts their workout, while Momoka watches them from a distance like a creep. Angelise tells Tusk that even though Embryo told her to create a new world, she still likes this one and wants to keep on surviving. Tusk feels the same way and agrees. Afterward, they go back to the shack where Momoka has prepared breakfast for them. Angelise is surprised to see her still alive, and Momoka informs her that the frying pan saved her life. She gives her a big hug and informs her that she is unable to use Mono Light. Tusk opens a small warehouse and reveals his mother's paramail that he had kept hidden. Angelise calls for Vilkas and they head towards Aurora, having analyzed the fact that the Akino Miyashira is the center point of the space-time fusion. Hilda gives an order to the Aurora to go there. Angelise, Tusk, and Momoka arrive, and there is a happy reunion for all. Angelise was surprised to see Ursha's Ragna mail but was happy she returned, and even forgives Lisa for her actions. She then talks to Jill about the best way to eliminate Embryo, and is told that the Vilkas and the song will unlock the unknown world that his body is hiding in. Jill then informs her that Hilda is in charge and is tired of Libertas, which causes Angelise to slug her and tell her about Salia. Afterwards, Hilda tells Angelise to take control because she isn't cut out to be a leader. Hilda tells Angelise that she is her prince and reveals her true feelings. Angelise, aware of the importance of Hilda's involvement in the battle, gives her a kiss for encouragement. Later, Angelise and Tusk promise to do their best to return safely to each other. Since Angelise doesn't have any materials, she has no choice but to give her shorts to Tusk as a makeshift lucky charm. Angelise loudly announces that they must make sure that they accomplish their purpose, and triggered by her words, the plan of Last Libertas is put into action. However, the Aurora bulldozes its way through the net of the enemy using its firepower, and then it bursts from the sea and flies into the air, with the Paramail squadron launching an attack. However, the Paramail controlled by Embryo blocks Angelise's path. Embryo tries to use the Dimension Cannon, but is stopped by Angelise while Hilda and Rosalie brace themselves for the confrontation with Chris. However, their path is soon blocked by Salia, driven by her desire for a world without Angelise's influence. Meanwhile, amidst the chaos of combat, The Aurora takes decisive action, unleashing its firepower to obliterate the Ignomi Hashira, carving a clear path towards Aura. The sacrifice made by Tusk, who acts as a decoy to engage Embryo, allows Angelize an opportunity to advance towards her objective, despite the looming threat posed by Celia's interference. However, the battle takes its toll on the Aurora as enemy assaults breach its defenses, causing internal damage to the vessel. May, caught in the crossfire, narrowly avoids injury, only to be saved by Jill's timely intervention. As the situation escalates, Jill takes command and prepares a counterattack to fulfill the Libertas mission and secure their objectives. Amidst the chaos, the Vilcus crashes through the wall of a nearby building, leading to an unexpected encounter for Angelize. She finds herself face to face with her younger sister, Sylvia, who desperately asks for help. Due to fear of getting eliminated by her sister, Sylvia miraculously rises to her feet and walks, dispelling Angelize's doubts and revealing the depth of her sister's resilience. Jill arrives on the scene and is ready to battle Celia. Salamandine makes her way to where Aura is stored in order to release it while Tusk is fighting Embryo. The fight between Chris and Hilda also commences. Meanwhile, Jill tells Celia about Embryo's real identity and how he also used Elektra and threw her away later, but she doesn't believe and keeps on fighting. On the other hand, Tusk starts to enrage the handsome antagonist by telling him that he has done some Riz acts with the girl he wants to make her wife. This makes Embryo furious, and he wants to eliminate Tusk at all costs. Salamandine arrives and tries to shoot at the container in which Aura is stored, but it doesn't seem to have any effect. Aurora keeps on getting attacked by the disc robots, and the shield that is guarding the ship keeps on decreasing every second. The ship loses altitude and lands on water. Vivian, Ursha, and the others arrive and try their best to safeguard the ship from the robots. Angelize also heads down the tunnel to help Salamandine release Aura. Salamandine plans to use that one energy blast attack while Angelize holds off the smaller robots, giving her time to power up. Meanwhile, Celia starts overpowering Jill slowly and tells her that she has always been used by everyone and that is the reason she would prefer to be left alone. Finally, the priestess sends more dragons to assist the Norma and tells Jasmine that the dragons will be assisting them with Aurora as well. Unexpectedly, Embryo uses a strange power that makes all the Paramail go out of control and attack the dragons. The dragons start attacking Celia, but in the nick of time, Elektra saves her life, telling her not to make the same mistakes she did. Meanwhile, Chris also tries to fight off the dragons but starts getting overwhelmed. Rosalie dashes towards her and jumps out of her Paramail, taking down Chris with her. Rosalie tells her that she wants to stay friends with her, and Chris also agrees. Luckily, Hilda saves them and helps them reach the ground safely. Salamandine finally fires the energy blast at the container, followed by a huge explosion. Finally, Aura is released and soars in the sky. Elektra corners Embryo and tells him that it is his time to meet his demise. He seems confident, knowing that guns can't eliminate him. However, Elektra uses an ice gun and freezes Embryo, making him unable to revive himself. However, he uses a Paramail standing behind him to attack Elektra and melt the ice off of him. Moreover, the space-time convergence keeps on increasing and has reached 95%. Embryo tells everyone that Aura's energy will act as a detonator for the space-time convergence. He appears next to Angelize and teleports somewhere, taking her with him as well. Celia brings Jill to Aurora, who is seriously wounded. She tells everyone that Embryo is still someone she can reach or defeat. Celia apologizes to her for being persuaded by Embryo and losing sight of what was really important. Jill also asks for her forgiveness for always taking her anger out on Celia, but unfortunately passes away while completing her apology. Suddenly, a voice can be heard by everyone, and Salamandine recognizes it as the voice of Aura. Meanwhile, Angelize wakes up in a room and goes outside to find out that she is in Arsenal, their old facility. However, this is not the one that was on the fake Earth, but the one that was on the real one. This is where Embryo used to conduct experiments and create everything that represents the world as it is today. He also informs her that the island is caught in a rift between various space-times, and they will get a premium view of Earth's destruction from here. Aura tells them that the key to visiting Angelize is Vilcus, and the one closest to Angelize can manage to control Vilcus if they put their heart to it. Hilda asks Tusk to operate on Vilcus. Meanwhile, Embryo tells Angelize that she has been tainted by the cultured boy and will require cleansing before she can be his wife. As Tusk attempts to start Vilcus, his tears fall onto Angelize's ring, unexpectedly activating Vilcus. Seeing this, Hilda, Celia, and Salamandine quickly hop onto their own Paramails to accompany him. Embryo, who is forcing himself on Angelize, witnesses her starting to sing the song. Salamandine starts singing that song as well, which links the two of them, allowing Tusk and the others to arrive on the island. Tusk manages to save Angelize and gives control of Vilcus to her. Salamandine then lends Tusk a sword and he goes to fight Embryo using it. Embryo makes several Paramail appear and they start fighting with Celia, Hilda and Salamandine. Angelize takes on the main one that is being controlled by Embryo. Tusk starts getting overwhelmed by Embryo. Celia shows that she will not let herself be controlled by anyone else, which makes her ring glow. The other two do the same, which transforms their paramale to a better and stronger version. They finally start to overwhelm the other paramale, and Angelize also starts winning her fight. She fires the energy blast at the main paramale, completely and utterly destroying it. Embryo is in disbelief to see that, and Tusk uses this opportunity to end Embryo's life once and for all. The island returns from the rift between space and time to the original Earth. Soon after, Aurora also arrives, and so does Salamandine and the others. Aura welcomes them to their planet, and Angelize decides to spend the rest of her life living here while the people on the other planet are fighting each other for food and eliminating each other mercilessly. Finally, everyone is united and starts a new happy life. This was all about our little princess. Will Tusk and Angelize live happily ever after? Comment Norma below and let us know. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for more plot-filled recaps.